You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
We'll call this meeting of the Branford Planning and Zoning Commission to order. It is Thursday, November 4th, 2021. I have 7:04 p.m. I'll introduce members of the commission and staff. To my far right, we have Commission Member Fred Russo. Next to Fred, Commission Member Paul Higgins. To my left, Commission Member Marcy Pelusi. Next to Marcy, Commission Member Massimo Liguri. Our staff this evening is our town planner Harry Smith, our assistant planner Evan Brining, and Michelle Martin, our recording secretary, is making notes through video, I believe, correct? I'm Chuck Anders, chair. I will now ask our secretary to read the notice of public hearing.
The Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Branford, Connecticut hereby gives notice of a public hearings to be held on Thursday, November 4th at 7 p.m. in the person at the Branford Fire Headquarters, 45 North Main Street, Branford, Connecticut, to consider the following. 1. Application number 21-8.1, 11-lot re-subdivision located at 175 Cherry Hill Road, BC Investment Property LLC, care of Bruno Ciccone, applicant and owner. Item number 2, application number 21-10.1, special exception for grading, section 6.8, for a single-family home located at 61 Flax Mill Road, Gary Fowler, applicant and owner. Item number 3, application number 21-10.2, special exception for grading, section 6.8, for a new septic system located at 18 Brook Hills Road, Anthony Larico, applicant and owner. At said hearings, all persons will have the right to be heard, and written communications will be received. A copy of the application is on file in the Planning and Zoning Commissioner's office at the Planning and Zoning Department, 1019 Main Street, Branford.
Thank you, Marcy. We'll follow a normal format for public hearings. The applicant will go first, make its presentation. After the applicant goes, we turn it over to the commission and staff. We typically have a summary of our staff report, questions, comments by commissioners, and then we'll open up to the public. We ask that you come forward, give your name, grab a microphone, or you can go at the podium, make your comments, and we'll allow the applicant to respond to any public comments. The hearings may or may not be continued or may be closed depending on how they go. With that, we'll turn, and we do have copies of the agenda and other items up here if anyone would like to get them. With that, we'll turn to our first item, which is Robert Caldera, applicant Pam Everett Over. This is 12 Sunrise Cove Camp, the special exception coastal site plan. And this matter has been continued, I understand, to our November 18th meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Evan? Great. So item number 1 is being continued to the November 18th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we also have a time extension that was offered.
Yes, an additional 35-day time extension was granted.
Okay, so
Accepting that for the record.
clear the applicant has consented to that.
Yeah, okay.
That brings us to items number 2, 3, and 4, all of which are Branford Summit Apartments LLC, 5 at 13 Summit Place. It's a zoning map amendment, a special exception multifamily IHOD development, and a special exception for grading. And that public hearing, I understand we're going to continue this one as well. Is that what's going on with that, Harry?
The applicants requested the hearing be continued to the 18th. It was opened formally on the 7th of October and continued without testimony, so requesting the same approach. There have been some late comments from the fire department, and we're going to meet with them as staff next week, and they want to work those out before they present the application. They have offered a time extension because we would technically be over the 35 days after this meeting. So that's on the table as well to take us to the 18th.
Okay, so thank you, Harry. So for items 2, 3, and 4, 5 and 13 Summit Place, the Branford Summit Apartments applications, if you hear on that, we are continuing that to our next meeting, which will be on November 18th at this location. That brings us then to item number 5, which is Gary Fowler, 61 Flax Mill Road, a special exception for grading, 6.8 for a single-family house. Applicant prepared to proceed on that one.
Good evening, Jim Preddy, Criscolo Engineering, 420 East Main Street here in Branford. 61 Flax Mill Road on the east side of the road as you're going up the hill. It's a vacant lot currently. The proposal is for a single-family home. It is a ranch with a walkout basement, so we are the site generally slopes from the road to the back of the lot. There's a wetland area at the very edge of the back of the lot. We did go to wetlands already, and we've been approved there. The house is designed to be a ranch with a walkout basement, taking the slope of the lot into consideration. The sewer main is also in the back of the lot, where there's a sewer easement that runs through. So there is some activity that gets close, but it stops at the existing sewer easement. The majority of the activity is shown here, outlined in our silt fence line. The yellow is the house, stockpile for topsoil in the front. Other utilities are available out front. Again, we're here because we were within 100 feet. The same reason we were at wetlands, because we were 100 feet within the review zone.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. So it's a vacant lot for residential house on a vacant residential lot, and you're here simply because you're close to wetlands, it appears.
We're within 100 feet,
Okay, great. Thank you.
partially.
Evan, did you prepare the staff report on this one?
I did. Like Mr. Peretti said, this is clearing and regrading related to the construction of a single-family home. They meet the requirements, the bulk requirements of the R5 district. They propose erosion control measures around the area for the home as well as in the rear where they plan to connect to the sewer connection in the backyard. They meet the standards of section 6.13C, which relates to retaining walls. And based on the application materials, it appears that the special exception criteria are satisfied, and they got Inland Wetland Commission approval on October 28th. And staff recommends erosion control measures installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer.
Thank you, Evan. Questions, comments from commission members? Hearing none, we'll open up to the public. Does any member of the public wish to comment on this item?
Hi, my name is Nancy Vital. I live next door to the lot on the sloping downside. And I came to just listen to see what they have going on. But my only concern, and we're excited to have new neighbors and everything, the only concern that I have is the drainage coming off that lot onto my property. And it is all clay and it comes down quite heavily. We've had water in our basement. We just bought the house last year and have done kind of some regrading in the front yard, and we had water pouring through from that side of the property onto into our basement, essentially, which was groundwater because we have 2 sump pumps in the basement, which we thought was going to be enough. So my concern is that I just wanted you to hear, that land, the concern that I have is that looks like the driveway comes down on my side, and I'm worried about the water coming across. So just to plant that in your head, that's something that I have a concern about.
I can address that.
Sure.
You probably have a plan for that? I just didn't shoot at 59.
Yeah, no.
What? Yeah.
I understand. I guess I would be concerned too. The contours do kind of go generally this direction. So I could.
Can you point out where the neighboring property is? Right there.
Here.
Yes, yeah.
So
Feel free.
I'm guessing historically there probably has been some water, just what you've just said.
It comes right, so the plow had plowed the curb away at the north
top
north
end.
side of the property, and the water was coming, the water comes, the hill comes down this way.
Yeah.
And our house is here, and the water was coming down the road here, and then open curb and was coming down right across. So my concern is if you put the driveway right there, which is what the plan is,
Yes.
that you're not gonna have anything to really kind of block the water. It's gonna come right down off the road. Okay. Like Sonny and Cher.
Yes.
So my concern is that with this, I'm a teacher, I'm in front of people all the time, I don't know why I'm so nervous. My concern is that with the water running down the road this way, that it's gonna come, if this isn't lipped off here, it's gonna come across the driveway and right onto our property. And this is the steepest part of the property. So I don't know what the plan is for the driveway and if you're moving dirt. I had looked at the plans. So I can see that you're digging out over here a little bit to get to the garage over here, and then just having this all run off. I don't care really about the back of the property, which is the wetlands, which everybody else cares about, but I'm just concerned that it's going to, so you can see that it pitches down, and my house is here, it's like really kind of close to this line, so.
So I do appreciate the fact that you're probably getting water.
Yeah.
So when this
Maybe we can
apron
help.
gets built, the town engineering department's gonna require them to have a lip on that anyway.
Mhm.
So I don't think stuff from the road will be coming down that,
Okay,
because they're supposed to have an 1.5 inch lip. But we are basically kind of straightening this out grading wise.
Mhm.
So I think the thought here was anyway, the water that comes this way is gonna hit this driveway and come down to the back, not keep going that way. The other thing is that we're gonna be intercepting the roof and putting it in galleys in the fill section, not in the original grade, but in the fill section in the back of the house.
gotcha.
To try to store some water and reduce some of the water that's running down the hill.
Okay,
But they too are also looking forward to having neighbors. They would amend the plan however, it needs to, but this driveway is graded to be kind of a break point so that the water will run down here. So the only thing that's really coming off of this site would be just this little area on the edge.
okay. All right, and this is wooded right now, and then there's a couple of big trees right here, which if you're moving the dirt around, could damage those roots. Like, is there a plan for those trees? There's some big ones right there.
So this clearing limits would be staked out, and then has to be inspected actually by the wetland officer and the zoning enforcement officer. So before any trees come down, this will be marked.
Okay,
So at that point, Gary will be out there, and you could kind of work that out. You'll know where the property line is at that point as well.
okay, all right.
Jim, there's no plan at the moment to remove the trees?
Well, they're removing the trees within this area.
Right, but on the edge there, which is.
If they're off the property, you can.
Yeah, I think
Well,
they're
even if they're on the
I
property
think they're
line,
either
they're-
on the line. We don't really know exactly where the line is either. So my
What?
concern was the what?
I'm sorry to interrupt, I just would like to know, of a certain caliper, how close they are, so I don't know if it's possible to mark, roughly any trees over, a certain caliber, so we could see where the drip line would end relative to the property, because that's ultimately what's gonna protect the trees, is that you're not encroaching too far into that drip line. But, as I look at your plan, it looks like you've got, you're still within the building envelope to the left side of the property. I don't know if you can shift the house 2 or 3 feet to just give her a little bit of more space to that right property line.
Yeah, possibly. We did
Well,
struggle
I
with the
know that
grading
you
on
got
this
30.
somewhat.
Yeah, I got 33 feet over here.
Yeah.
So I did look at that. Yeah, and I'm not asking you to shift the house. I just really wanted to make sure that I think the way it looks like on the elevations, which I don't know if you have the picture of the elevation.
Actually, yeah.
It looked like you're gonna have to cut some of this back and flatten this space out and push the dirt, and so I was concerned about that. I don't know visually like where that, it looks like you're about at the same length, the same spot as my house, so I'm thinking that those trees are probably back here.
Back a little farther. And then
Not right on the edge here.
There is a retaining wall going in for part of this to minimize the grading in that area.
Which way it's going?
There is a retaining wall here.
It's retaining.
So this is a little bit higher, so we won't have to fill so much up against that property line.
Mr. Chairman, so is that going to be filled basically where the driveway is, the driveway portion, that right there?
There is some here, but then when we get to a point, we change it to a retaining wall so that there's just minimal.
So it's a
at the
retaining
base
wall
of the wall.
falling
But
off
the-
to my side, or a retaining wall
Yeah, your
high?
side's low, this side's high,
Okay,
so that we didn't have to fill right up to the property line. The retaining wall basically cuts it off.
So-
And that
Aren't they
basically,
gonna
that
fall
also
off the
creates a
driveway?
curb as well, which helps with the water situation.
okay.
How about so the root zone of those trees may not be impacted in terms of any excavation, so there'd be just a little bit of fill over them, is that
Yeah.
likely what's gonna
At
happen?
the base of the
Okay.
wall, there's only a little bit of fill in front of it,
So does that alleviate your concern a bit, Marcy? It's just a little bit of,
It really, I can't
You
make a
can't see it with the
determination
tree
because we
on
don't
it.
know how far off of the property line the center of the tree is.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
you know, the wall starts, it's about 2 feet, and then it, at the end of the driveway, it looks like it tapers, you know,
Is there a plan to
four,
take any trees down on their
4 feet or
side of the
so.
property over there?
yeah,
But,
The
you know,
bigger
if they're
trees?
close, then to me, the solution would be to kind of just shift things a little
yeah,
bit.
just
Yeah, I
squeeze it
mean, again, when
over.
you're standing
Yeah.
out there, it's hard to say until,
Yeah.
You know,
until
before
this
you-
gets
Until we
staked
know
out.
Or
exactly
anything.
where the line
Yeah.
is, yeah. I mean, if they're on our property, I don't want the roots to be
Oh,
damaged,
absolutely.
I don't want them to fall on my house. They're
So,
big, they're
it won't-
enormous trees.
Yeah, it won't be much of a wall. I mean, you're not talking
we don't
about a
know.
footing for the wall, really,
No,
because
it's
it's not
like,
that kind of wall.
the highest point is only 3 feet.
Okay, all right.
It can't be higher than 3 feet with
Without,
setback.
yeah, right.
Jim, do you know what kind of trees those are?
I don't,
They're either tulip
When
or,
you're standing out
they're
there?
100 feet, I mean, they're 78, they're enormous trees.
Are they pretty wide?
I would say, yeah, there's a couple. of
15,
big,
16
they're
inch maybe, yeah.
Yeah, tulip trees go,
The tulip tree
Really
is a very
strong,
weak
really
wooded
tall.
tree, and if it's gotten that tall, you know, I think it's important to know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because if it's sufficiently off the property line,
It's not
you
gonna
know,
happen,
it doesn't matter, but if it's sufficiently close, I think there's some, you know, there's some potential risk for, you know, just the, not that the tree is a specimen tree, but
Yeah.
more that if you damage the root zone, you wouldn't want it leaning on one of the houses or the other.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, if it is gonna be impacted and we could take the trees down, like, do that too. I would like to keep them, they're nice and shady, but it's really more
The worst thing is weaken them and then they fall.
the exact,
Right.
right. And chances are they're gonna fall my direction.
Right.
But we can't make a determination as we know.
Without knowing
You
more,
know.
right, right.
If it's on the property line, yeah, then I would be more concerned, you know, if it's, you know, you wanna have probably at least a 10-foot diameter around the tree if it's that wide. You know,
Yeah.
5 feet, you know, which isn't the full drip line, but
It's
just to,
something, yeah.
yeah, at least half of the drip line, I would think would be kind of important to protect.
You said you had some difficulty with the grading there. Would it be much of a problem just to shift it a few feet? I mean, does a few feet make that much of a difference for the building?
we could probably move it over about 8 feet or so.
I mean, just in case, we're just, you know, just.
If you have to, I mean, if we don't have to, then that's fine. I just wanted to raise that concern.
I guess the thing to do is to see where this actually gets laid out in the
Yeah.
field
Okay.
and make a decision.
Okay.
about the
There are 2 new stakes on, one's right at my fence, and we have a dog, to retain the dogs. And there's a new, it's a pink and black flag on the, what is that?
We did do the survey there. We did the survey, and I know that they set points when they did the survey, and they may have,
I saw this up post.
they may have flagged the corners as well.
No, it's
There.
out, it's on my
Oh.
fence, like, I don't think that it's, unless it's the edge of the driveway. I mean, we didn't have a survey done when we put the fence up to, you know, I mean, we could be on the property, we'll just move the fence, but it's just that's where the open area was when we bought the house, so it went all the way over to the woods, so we figured the woods was the property line, so we could be off as well, could be well onto your property, but I don't think I think those trees are really right, potentially right on the property line, and there's 3 good-sized trees right there at the back side of your driveway, so it could easily not be an issue, or it could be an issue, so.
So we'll have to see where the
Yeah.
stakes fall and then do an inventory along the property line, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind picking up those trees, I mean, you do show the box wire fence, which makes me think that that's the fence she's talking about, behind the,
Yeah,
Where's that?
you know, so,
back here.
Oh, is that what
See
that
that
is?
box wire fence there? That's what that
Oh,
is.
see, I am on your property, on his property.
Okay,
We can move that.
that would be to the,
But I
Guess what?
still think that this top part is still,
like, it comes from here. It goes to from the back of the house back. So we did it in a straight line. It's probably should have brought it. That's not a big deal. We can definitely move that, but it's still that corner.
Sure.
Those trees are they're probably on his property, actually, then, if that's where the fence is.
So.
Did you do any test pits? Do you know if you would hit any ledge on that left front corner?
I don't know. We didn't, because we're not doing the septic here, so
Right.
and we're putting the stormwater and fill, so. I guess to alleviate this situation, that was probably best to continue this, and we'll come back with, some indication of what's there on the property line now and how to address it.
Yeah.
If that's fair.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's great. I appreciate you just even taking it into consideration because, like I said, my biggest concern is the water coming on. We just put in curtain drains around the house and stuff too, so, but it really pours off down the hill. And so if it's coming from here and coming across, that was really my main concern, but then the trees are secondary.
Yeah.
For me personally.
I think he really wanted to get started, but it's better to solve this now.
Yeah, well, I think they were on the lot the other day, and he
They
said he was
probably
waiting for lumber prices to come down, but, I mean, quite frankly, I don't want to hold them up, but.
No,
it would be
that's
nice.
fine.
Well,
This
Yeah,
is-
I think it's minimal, and I
right.
think there's,
It's more important to deal with this now.
Yeah, I mean, I was halfway through writing a condition, which you might want to consider another way to do it, to kind of
I mean, I
work
know
it out
the
after.
18th is getting full.
Well, that's
We
part
can
of the
handle it.
reason.
We
and
can
also,
work it out, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it
I
sounds
can
like
handle it
it's
under
If-
amenable,
so.
If you want us to work it out, then we'll do that, but with Gary.
well, I just think that you want to secure a minimum.
Yeah,
you
I've
know,
got something.
half the drip liner, 5 feet off the center, just something to give the tree a fighting chance,
Sure.
Either that or they
You know,
determine they need to come down and take
no
them
more
down.
than,
Or they need to
no
come
more
down.
than
Yeah.
a foot, 18 inches over the, over the root zone. if
Yeah, I
it's
just
in
may
a
not-
ten-
well,
something along those lines.
Like you said, I think if you identify the species, the size, location, and then look at what the impacts of the construction are likely to be, and if it's possible to shift things over to protect them enough, great. If not, then build in taking them down so that you're not potentially
Right.
damaged, if something happens.
I mean,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, what's your condition? What do you, have you read
Basically that.
it? Okay,
I mean, I've got different words in here, but
Close.
okay.
I think
Yeah, I
that's
mean, I
probably
think
even better.
if the fill's kept to, under
Yeah.
18 inches, there's
Right.
still a certain amount of oxygen that could get to the root zone if it's half the diameter, half the drip line.
Yeah.
People say, the whole drip line is sort of an area of, but I think half is a reasonable compromise.
So you think 18 inches or less of fill?
Right, if you're getting to 2-3 feet, I think then you've got to be concerned about aeration of the root zones.
Okay.
If they are tool trees, that's a very weak wooded tree.
Yeah.
It's a very scrappy, just a weed tree. If it's something like an oak or a maple,
It's tougher.
well, it might be a little bit more,
Yeah,
you pay a little more attention to trying to save it, as far as its survivability.
okay.
But that's hard to tell without knowing what the caliper is.
Yeah. I mean, if you're okay, we can, if you're willing to take a phone call.
Yeah, I mean, I'll
Gary,
drive
I
out
think,
there and
knows his
take a
stuff
look
too,
at it
but yeah.
if you want.
I mean, just in the interest of keeping things moving, maybe.
I do think that just to alleviate you, that they are shifting the grade, this whole lot away from your house. So, I don't know exactly where the existing watershed's falling versus the proposed, but I think they're, for the most part, improving it. So you might get a little water towards the end, but I think,
Yeah,
but I can't say from how much water was getting across.
yeah. Well, we have
beforehand.
it's swaled now, so that anything coming
Try to-
across will hopefully go back onto their property.
I think we are
Towards the pond.
intercepting some of it, so.
Yeah, I think, it's,
So where did we land with this?
An exception, approved with an exception.
Basically determine and provide information on the location, sizes, species regarding large trees adjacent to the driveway near the garage, and evaluate possible shift of the house driveway to the north and/or possible
Removal of the tree.
impact of proposed construction on the root zone, future viability of the trees, and/or provide for their removal if necessary.
Okay, so if we meet out there with Gary, the owner, and come up with a plan and just run it by you before he goes for a building permit,
Yeah, this would be before zoning permits issued, so it'd be a condition 1B or something.
Fair enough.
I'm good with that. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Great. Let's see, is there any other member of the public that wishes to comment? Yes, sir.
Would you like my microphone? You want my microphone? You can walk and talk.
It's all right. I usually have a very loud voice, and I am another Joe in the room, so. Thank you for inviting us. I'm Joe DePonte. I'm the president of the Flax Mill Hollow Association, and we don't have any objections to any of that house being built on that lot. However, we are concerned about the proximity of where the driveway for that particular house is going to be located, because the entrance to our development is right across from that lot. And that particular section of Flax Mill Road, since it's been paved, is number one, very busy. Number two, it's very thin, and many cars have to stop for cars either coming up the road, and people coming out of our development are very leery, because it's almost a blind spot to try to see cars coming down from the top from Queech Road or North Branford Road. So that's our concern. We have been in contact with the Selectman's office about possibly a traffic study on the road, but there's not enough traffic to do that. We would really like to see stop signs on either side of our development, or at least signs that say blind driveway. But again, we would like the commission to consider that if possible.
Thank you. Other members of the public wish to comment? Yes, ma'am? Oh, here we go. Okay. Mr. Prady, do you have any comment about the location of the driveway? That seemed that there's other general concerns.
The location of the driveway was chosen because it's the lowest part of the lot. We're battling grade here, so kind of where we need to come in. Truthfully, the closer they are to being lined up, the better it is, the more safe it is. The road is truthfully narrow here, without question. I mean, I'm not sure if that's really more of a town problem, but it definitely is narrow here. And if you're not familiar with the road and you come down the road, you're stopping kind of quick because the road gets narrow fast. Yeah. But again, we chose that location specifically because of the grading on this lot, so we can kind of get out at a reasonable pace. It's from this end, it would be hard to, almost impossible to make town's driveway standards work from the high end.
How many cars are servicing the home?
Excuse
How
me?
many cars are going to be at the home?
There's just a two-car garage here, but then there's a garage under the house for, I'm going to say toys, but
Well, that's what I was trying to understand. So it's 2 cars a couple times a day. Did you look at the sight line coming out of the driveway? I mean, is it better or worse at a different location?
I don't think it really changes from one end to the other.
Thanks. Any other questions, comments from anyone? Any other member of the public wish to comment? Okay, then we can, I think we can close the public portion. Do you have anything else, Mr. Preddy? Any other comments from commission members and staff? Okay, then we'll close this matter as a public hearing. And, probably take that up in a little bit. Brings us into item number 6. Anthony Lauricio, 18 Brook Hills Road, a special exception for grading as well.
Jim Preddy again, Chris Hollow Engineering.
Plan this?
This is an existing house on Brook Hills Road, outlined here in yellow. They're having a problem with their septic system. The lot does slope fairly gently toward the back, and part of this pond is on the property. I did walk this with the wetland enforcement officer, and she agreed that the edge of the wetlands is basically the edge of the pond because it's lawn right up to where the pond is. This has been reviewed and approved by the health department already. And again, we're here only because we're within 100 feet of the wetlands, and they have to do some grading to fix the septic system. The septic system needs to be raised a little bit from what was originally there. Typical erosion controls, stockpile area, construction entrance off the end of the driveway.
Thank you, Ms. Preddy. Evan, did you prepare this one as well?
Yes, like Mr. Peretti stated, it's the installation of a septic system within 100 feet of an inland wetland, and regrading related to that. No changes to the bulk standards, so they meet the standards of the R5 district. He's included erosion control measures on the site plan, and based on the application materials, it appears that the special exception criteria are generally satisfied. They received Inland Wetland Commission approval, or their agent's approval, on October 28th. And staff recommends erosion control measures installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer.
Thank you, Evan. Questions, comments from commission members? Marcy?
Easy question. Is this being located over where the previous one was, or is it?
Partially, yeah. Yeah, there's, well, limited area, and we don't really want to get closer to the pond.
Right.
But just for clarification, no trees are coming down from this one. This is all lawn.
Well, that's
currently.
kind of what I figured, yeah.
So, there is some trees along the edge, but it's over the town
easement,
drainage pipe
yeah.
that comes down. But
I just wasn't sure if you're moving from the front to the back, or if you're just sort of
No.
shifting it, or.
Any other questions, comments? Now we'll open it to the public. Any member of the public wish to comment? One more time, any member of the public wish to comment? Hearing none, we can close the public portion. Mr. Preddy, you have any further comments? Anyone else have any comments? We'll close this matter as a public hearing. It's probably something we can take up in a little bit. Brings us into our minutes, which were sent to us from our October 21 meeting. And had a chance to review those. If someone wants to make an appropriate motion. Motion made to approve the minutes by Fred. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Marcy. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes approved. Correspondence, anything, Harry?
Mr. Chairman, there is no correspondence this meeting.
Okay. Why don't we take up the two items that we had our public hearings for? First was item number 5, 61 Flax Mill Road, special exception for grading. And I think we heard the comments from that. There was about the neighbor, the drainage issues, and the tree salvation issues on the right-hand side, and then there was concern about the driveway, which it appeared to be like that was the appropriate location for the driveway given the grading of the site, and there's lack of any sightline problems. And Harry, you had a proposed condition in addition to, as a result of that. Any thoughts, comments by folks? Marcy?
So I've been so chatty. I don't think that any signage needed for the Flax Mill complex should be the responsibility of the new owner. There are 4 cars, 2 cars coming in and out. I don't deny that maybe there should be, the town should look into doing some kind of signage to say, hidden drive or something, but because it's a straight throughway, it doesn't make sense to me to put a stop sign through there. So.
Right, yeah, and the owner, it's not this committee with traffic commissioner. Who deals with stop signs? Is it the police or the police? Yeah, yeah. So absolutely, yeah. You don't impose it on the property. So I agree with you as well, Marcy. Any other thoughts, comments by folks? Harry, you want to review that condition that you were suggesting for us?
Yeah. So it would be a condition 1B, which could read, determine and provide information, in parentheses, location, size, and species, regarding large trees adjacent to the driveway near the proposed garage, and evaluate possible shift of the house driveway to the north, if needed, to reduce impact of proposed construction on the root zone / future viability of the trees, or if necessary, provide for their removal.
Do you want to say, the goal is to seek, maintaining 5 feet off the trunk, or?
Yeah, I took notes. I put down half the drift line and less than 18 inches of fill, just in my notes here. I didn't put it in the condition, but
Okay.
I will go with that as a frame of reference.
Okay.
That makes it, that's okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other thoughts, comments? And then the condition 1A is as in the staff report that Evan read to us, and it's before us. So if there aren't any further comments, someone will make a motion to approve this application with the condition in the staff report and the condition just read by Harry.
Also move.
Motion made by Paul. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Marcy. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All voting aye. So application is approved. So that brings us then to old business. And item number one is the car wash application that's scheduled for to be continued at our next
Don't we
meeting.
have a
Oh,
second? Don't we have a second?
oh,
We had the other grading.
oh, gosh. I forgot about
Septic,
that.
14 Brook Hills?
That's right, absolutely, thank you both. So let's bring up item number 6, 18 Brook Hills Road, is a special exception for grading. And I think the staff report recommendation was the standard condition about prior to issuance of a zoning authorizations or CO, that the following be addressed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer, that prior to the start of construction, erosion control measures shall be installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer and maintained throughout the project. So, and there were no public comments that I recall, and,
Straightforward.
right. So does someone want to make a motion to approve the application with the condition recommended by staff in the staff report? Motion made by Fred, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Marcy. Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you guys for getting me online there. So, item number 6 is approved. That brings us then to old business. Item number 1 of old business is the public hearing for the car wash. That is scheduled for our next meeting, so that's not on the agenda for tonight. That's items number 1 and 2, I believe. Item number 3, a 11-lot re-subdivision is also for 175 Cherry Hill Road, and that is also scheduled for our next meeting on November 18th. Is that correct, Harry?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we had to reschedule because there's also an inland wetlands meeting tonight, and they are on the agenda for that meeting. So they wanted to reschedule to the 18th. They offered a time extension.
Does it look like wetlands will make a decision tonight?
I think they're coming, it's possible. They have one, I think they can go to December, but I don't think they're going to need to do that, go that far, but I'm not sure, actually.
Okay, so that one is scheduled for our next meeting, and we'll see if Wetlands has decided if they want a further one, but we can open it even if Wetlands hasn't decided.
Right, exactly.
Items 4, 5, and 6 are all Cherry Hill Estates, series of applications for 26 Cherry Hill Road. This is the approved Cherry Hill Road that's under construction right now. And Harry, what's your recommendation for that one?
At this point, we have additional information, so I think we're ready to set a public hearing. At this point, with the normal time periods to do legal ads, we'll need to do that on the 9th of December. We're working with the developer to allow them to go ahead with construction at their risk, basically pending the approval of this, so that we're not holding the project up unnecessarily. So we worked
Okay,
that out.
so that's that series of applications which have been before us, so no times will be coming back on December 9th. Brings us into new business. Item number 1 is KYOP Branford LLC, 1025 91 West Main Street. That's in Big Wide Plaza, special exception for indoor recreation. And we have a public hearing scheduled on that at our next meeting on November 18th. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, great. So item number 2, the Goods Hill Point LLC. This is we approved the PDD for that application. That's the combo residential marina application at Goods Hill Point. And it looks like they're coming back, or they filed their site plan, detailed development plan application. But we don't need to schedule that for a hearing yet, or what do you recommend on that?
There was actually another application submitted today that will require a public hearing. That's a section 6.8 because the work is within 100 feet of the Branford River. So probably combine the whole thing into a public hearing, but I'll work that out with the attorney representing them. So at this point, the application was submitted today, won't be technically received until the next meeting. So if you want to leave it to myself and the chair to work out per the standing motion the commission has, then we can set a date when we've got everything figured out.
Okay, so, okay with everyone? So we'll just figure out what works for everyone. Schedule that, and the new application just came in for a public hearing. Brings in item number 3, which is Michael Sutkin, applicant owner, 14 Lanfair Cove Road, a subdivision modification. And that just came in, I understand, or where are we in that?
Yes, this is a previous approved subdivision for the construction of 3 homes. The applicant had posted a bond for the planting of 8 street trees. At some point in time, the electric company had either asked the property owner or taken the trees down themselves as they were under the wires, and posed a threat to the electrical wires. So the 2 of the trees were removed. The applicant received a partial release of his bond for $4,500, and now in order to get the remainder of his $1,500 on that bond, he needs to modify the subdivision to remove those 2 trees from the subdivision plan. So that's why we are here today.
So,
And we do have a
Yes.
letter from Gary Zielinski.
Yes, I also have a letter from the tree warden, and in that letter he states that it is not feasible nor appropriate for street trees to be installed in the town right-of-way, abutting above listed properties due to poor soil conditions and very shallow ledge, which will not be supportive to healthy tree growth.
so is the real issue the ledge, or is the issue the wires?
I think it's a combination of all 3 conditions.
And the other 4 trees aren't affected by the wires? Are they
No.
different varieties or something?
No, the wires are just not running across.
They cross before that or something?
Yeah.
I mean, is there any reason why you can't push the trees back? Well, I guess if it's ledge, you wouldn't.
I believe the current property owners don't want any trees.
Okay.
Yeah. At this point, we don't have any kind of easement to, plant trees or any way to get into the private properties that are,
And there's
Long
no
approved.
information on depth to ledge? Because I can see where ledge would
Yeah, I
need
just-
the root zones, but
all we've got is a statement from the tree warden, so.
So he's looking for a modification of the subdivision so he can get the rest of his bond back, correct?
Exactly. This has been hanging around for a long time.
Right. And he
So
did what he was supposed to do. He planted all the trees and the
Yeah.
power company took them down.
Yep.
So it's not like he didn't comply. And the tree warden says it's not.
Appropriate to try and put it
So-
back, right.
So what do we just need a motion to approve the modification to allow for the removal of these 2 trees? Is that-
Exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any further questions, comments by anyone? Not, someone want to make that motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Paul. Is there a second? Second, Massimo. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. The modification is approved. Brings us into other business. We have a bond release for 9 Laurel Hill Road.
I have a memo from the zoning enforcement officer concerning property at 9 Laurel Hill Road. They request the return of a bond in the amount of $1,500. The zoning enforcement officer conducted an inspection and confirmed that required work was done. Staff recommends the release of the bond in its entirety.
So I'll make a motion to approve the bond release for 9 Laurel Hill Road as recommended by the zoning enforcement officer. Motion made, we'll give it to Fred, a second by Paul. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That bond is released. Number 2, the bond release for 14 Lanfears, which we just approved the subdivision modification for.
I don't have a memo for this one, but staff recommends the release of the $1,500.
Okay, so is someone want to make a motion to release the bond as staff just recommended for 14 Lanfears Cove Road subdivision?
Motion.
Motion by Fred, is there a second?
I'll move. I'll second.
Second by Paul. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. It's approved. Planners report.
Planners report. Before we go there, I'd like to suggest we add you consider adding Another agenda item under other business regarding cannabis establishments moratorium, which we discussed at the last meeting.
Sure. Is there a motion to add this as item to the cannabis establishment moratorium, add this as an agenda item to our meeting?
Second, I think.
We're going to add an item, discussion item to the agenda. Motion to modify the agenda to add discussion of a moratorium on cannabis establishments.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made to add to the agenda by Marcy. Is there a second?
Massimo just did.
Second, Massimo. Sorry, Massimo. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Harry.
Great. Based on discussion at the last meeting, I prepared some language for a moratorium, and I will just pass this out quickly. It's just a one-pager.
Yeah. And this is something I think I had raised with Harry. I meant to raise it the last meeting, but I didn't raise it. Remember we were discussing, obviously, big picture, the legislature
Thank you.
legalized recreational marijuana and other types of things. We had discussions about it. We're going to draft our own regulations about it, and Harry's working on those. My original thought was that, great, we got time because the stuff isn't legal till next year. and so we don't have to worry about it. That said, I found out some towns are getting applications now, even Meriden.
What does it mean, though?
We haven't until January, but they're already
We
getting.
don't have the
getting
time. People can submit the
So we don't have
applications
time to
now.
vote it.
Meriden, this is, I'm our representative to the Regional Planning Commission, and this came up there. Meriden got an application in, even though they hadn't set their new regulations in. Someone submitted their application, which means it's covered by the old regulations, which means it's just any retail, it can go anywhere where retail is. So what I thought we should do is adopt a moratorium that will be repealed whenever we get our final stuff in. But that's what we don't want to necessarily do now, just to have this open anywhere because we want to have restrictions. So that was the suggestion. Let's just get a moratorium on the books so that we don't have to accept it. And then as soon as we adopt the real stuff, this thing goes off the books.
Okay, good.
So I just suggested Harry prepare something. So Harry,
Let's marker then.
yeah, absolutely. It's just to prepare it because, and I originally thought, hey, we're probably okay because the stuff isn't legal, but apparently you can apply anyway. So and Meriden said, oh yeah, they applied and it's covered by the regulations that were in effect before they even So let's do that. Harry, what did I miss?
I don't think you missed anything. Just go over the language technically very quickly. I just mirrored the language that we used the last time we enacted a moratorium, which was for, I believe, 2 families in the R1 zone, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So basically, this is just explaining the reason for the moratorium, its time frame and limit, when it becomes effective, and so forth. I did add in definitions for cannabis and cannabis establishment, and just referred back to the statutory language in terms of the list of the different categories of permits available. So you just, in the statement of purpose and the effectiveness of the moratorium, referring to the definition saying you can't have any of these things for 12 months.
Okay.
That's it.
And we would schedule for a public hearing probably when? December?
Oh, it'd have to be December 9th.
December 9th, because we're going to give notices to everyone.
We've already sent the notice out yesterday, as a matter of fact, to make the date to DEP and SCROG, because we needed 35 clear days just in case they didn't reply.
So we need to do a public hearing to enact the moratorium? Or?
Yes, to enact the moratorium.
And this has nothing to do with this dispensary, right? This is a separate item.
The existing dispensary is grandfathered, can continue on, but their conversion would be covered by this. It would be covered by this. So this would freeze every kind of retail sale or production growth for 12 months, or until the commission pulls it out. So in the meantime, we'd be working on long-term regulations based on discussions we had the previous meeting. I was the last one, or the one before that, I can't remember.
And what's the expectation in terms of getting us a draft for the more permanent ones?
I think that depends on workload, but given the fact we've got, this moratorium in place, I'm hoping to do it over the holidays, probably bring it back to you in January at some time, revised draft, and we can, depending on workload, hash it out.
So for 12 months, no one could apply for any type of licensing or growing
Yeah, but
facility in the town of Branford?
Right, but once you're ready with the regulation, you can put the new regulation in place and revoke the moratoriums. It doesn't need to be for a whole 12 months. You know, if we do it in 4 months, then we can pull it at that point.
This is really to bide us time between
Exactly, to
December
buy
and
us time.
January,
Yeah.
to not be pressed.
Right,
Right.
right, right.
So is that okay? Everyone okay with the proposed to be authorized? Okay. Okay, then,
We're making a motion to,
You can if you want, and
Sure.
authorize the chair to sign the application and go ahead with the
yeah, is
language as
there a
proposed.
motion to authorize me to sign the application to propose the moratorium for cannabis establishments as
Also
discussed?
moved.
Is there a second?
second.
Second. For discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. What else under other business?
So I guess we're back to planner's report. You will get a copy of a survey for the affordable housing plan that is going out on the town website either tomorrow or Monday, depending how fast we can do it. It's been reviewed by the steering committee, and we will get quite a bit of PR out there as soon as we can. I encourage you to send it out to whatever email networks you have. We're hoping this thing will go viral, and that will increase and pretty much be our, response to the survey. So the more it can go viral, the more people we're going to get, and the better, input we'll get. So that's what's happening with the affordable housing plan at the moment. Let's see, we've got just to give you an update in the ADU opt-out. Given the election and the shift over of, I don't know how many seats changed in terms of personnel or parties, but I believe the RTM gets reorganized in December, so I talked with our chair about sending the opt-out vote to them, because the next step is for them to consider it, potentially vote for it or not.
This is for the accessory apartments,
Yes.
and to do that before or after the change?
Well, I think the change happens at their next meeting.
Oh.
I think the next formal meeting is the new RTM. But they do have an organizational meeting, I believe, and then they, set up all the committees and the chair and all that all over again. So I don't think they'll be ready to really receive much until January. So at that point, I think, Chuck, you were going to volunteer to go to the
Sure,
RTM
yeah,
meetings?
I assume if the RTM has a public hearing or they just want to know more about it, I'm happy to come and anyone else can come as well. But I'll explain what the rationale was as why we're opting out.
And if anybody else wants to accompany Chuck, let me know, so I'll coordinate that with, meeting times of the RTM and committees and so forth to
You're in the
let you
camera.
know.
You're in the camera.
Let's see, we'll, coming up to that time of the year to elect officers again, so just sort of a reminder, we'll set that up for the meeting in December, but I think traditionally, there's been a slate of officers proposed by, I think, one of the,
Yeah, typically we've had an
Alternate
alternate
members.
make a poll to see who's interested in running for
I nominate John Lust to be the new chair.
Right. So,
so just a little reminder about that. We also have a proposed set of meeting dates, and I think that's already in front of you. Why don't you take that home, consider that, see if there's any problems. Is the hand raised already?
Yeah, I went through it. The December 8th date is the second Thursday. I didn't know if you were aware of that.
We did that deliberately to avoid having, frankly, to do staff reports the week of Thanksgiving, and also
Okay.
closes the gap between that one meeting in December and the first meeting in January.
Okay, there wasn't an asterisk, so I wasn't sure.
Oh, there should be one.
Yeah.
Well, we're all perplexed by that as staff.
When it's-
As a person of Irish descent, don't expect me to be there.
I think you have a staff that is comprised of people of Irish descent apparently now, so we're right with you.
are any of the meetings on a high holy day that we have to start at 8 versus 7?
There is one, I believe it's October 6th, which is,
Oh, okay.
8 p.m. start.
That's a milestone.
Yeah.
December 8th.
December 8th,
Yeah,
okay.
December 8th is the Feast of the Immaculate.
There we go.
Well,
November 3rd.
but I don't think that ends or starts at sundown, right? So that's,
Yeah,
I won't be here that meeting.
right.
okay. So do we need a motion to approve the schedule?
You can do that now if you want, or if you,
right, we
since
can-
we're down to
Yeah.
members. I don't think there's
Okay.
any conflicts. I can shoot it to them and just see. We could do it the next meeting.
Okay, yeah, we can,
Let's wait for Joe and Joe.
Okay.
yeah, when's it due?
We have to file it by January 1st, I believe.
Okay, so we have
we're
time.
fine. Yeah.
Anything else?
That's all I have. Do you have anything, Evan, that I'm forgetting? Yeah.
Anyone else got anything?
I do have a staff report for some place, so I can pass that out, because since you have the new plans. You're set, right? That's it. Okay.
Will you need to revise that if they do the fire engine thing? I don't know.
Yeah, if they revise the plans.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, okay. Okay.
I'll probably advise that a little more if they revise the plans.
Chuck, I noticed you had one person in the audience, I think she's here.
Hey, excuse me, are you here for anything particular, ma'am?
Yeah, my name is Sharon Hutner, and I'm a member of the Clean Energy Committee, and I'm a planning and zoning junkie.
Oh.
So I usually watch the Zooms, and so I just thought it would be interesting to come and actually see a real meeting in person. So
We have alternate spots open if you want to talk to Jamie.
That's great. Well,
It'd be nice to have another female on the
And
board.
I'm COVID phobic, so I'm sitting as far away from everybody as I can, even though I have my booster, so.
well, that's great. We're glad you showed up and come often.
Yeah, thank you.
Keep us honest, so.
Unfortunately, I can't be here at the 18th meeting, so I'll have to.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I'll have to do the video.
Yeah, this one is shorter than normal. That's right. Anyone else have anything?
Make a motion to adjourn?
We make a motion to adjourn by Marcy and seconded by Fred. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.